I only had water, and it was pure water too.
If I recall, you had had primary bowel cancer, and you'd had colostomy. You were carrying a bag, and you'd also, it had been discovered you had secondaries in the liver, and you were in pretty poor shape. You had been under surgery, and you'd had some chemotherapy. So it was a question of trying to give some support in your recovery. And at that particular time, I thought that you were well motivated. I thought that you were keen to change your lifestyle. And I was prepared to sort of say, right, well, let's get to it. 86.2. I'm still on the up and up.
Is it good?
Well, I think you're getting quite heavy enough at that point. It's 86 kilos.
I was...
It's quite heavy. First of all, it's well established that with cancer, that 2/3 of cancer has only two causes: tobacco and diet. It is argued by the epidemiologists, the oncologists and so on, that in that particular field, that almost 2/3 of cancer is related to those two causes: tobacco and diet. Well, tobacco is well publicized, diet not so well. But nevertheless, that is the information that comes out from the leading scientists and medical specialists in the world today. So diet is extremely important, and I would urge you to pursue the diet for the rest of your life, in essence. A few changes here and there won't be a problem, but essentially the diet should remain the same. From our point of view, if a person is sick, I mean, obviously, there are points of no return. Pathology can evolve to such a point where there's very little chance of recovery. But even so, things sometimes happen that surprise me. People sometimes do recover when I don't expect it. But I think 95% of disease processes are amenable to lifestyle modification. So the majority of people with a good change of lifestyle, with removing the causes of disease, as I would say, are likely to either improve or recover. I mean, when we talk about recovery, we're not talking about cure. That's a different thing. I believe the word cure should be stricken from the language because it implies the ability to restore somebody to health without removing the causes. And I don't believe that's really possible. They take, for instance, the only way to get a drunken man sober is to stop him from drinking. Well, you haven't really cured him. If he goes back to drinking again, he gets drunk again. It's the same with the health and disease. Disease has positive causes. If we remove those causes, the tendency of the organism is to recover. It's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for us in a defensive, reparative, and healing manner. And the important thing to understand is that healing is a biological process. It's not a science, it's not an art. There's really no such person as a healer. Healing is something that we do for ourselves. It's an innate process that goes on all the time.
I know that you've used meditation. Do you consider that's been significant in your recovery?
It's definitely beneficial. Anyone with this disease, I'd recommend meditating or relaxing at least 30 minutes a day.
Russell, you've had a very traumatic 2 years. You've had major surgery. You've been told that you had between 6 and 18 months to live. You're doing well. You're apparently recovering. Why do you think it's important to tell your story?
I think when you get diagnosed with cancer, I think most people, you're on your own. I mean, I felt that from the start. You're the only person. You've got the disease, and it's very hard, and there's not much out there. Yeah, and I find it hard because I've spoken to so many people with the disease, is that if there is something wrong that you can't be cured, you've got to go elsewhere. And unfortunately, there's not much out there. And whatever is out there, you've got to find. And one of the reasons is that when I had it, I couldn't find anything. There was nothing. It was just like you were told you were going to die, and that was it. There was no other way out. After an odyssey of medical treatment, which couldn't have helped me, I had to seek an alternative medicine, and unfortunately there's not a lot out there. And I'd like to sort of bring this to the forum that you can go out there, and there are people that are going to help you, and they do it with very good results.
I'm doing my own bit of help too. When people call, they often want to speak to me too, or they're coming to our door and we take them into our home, and I can help perhaps more on the emotional side, and I often remember things that Russell may forget, and they're just so grateful to be able to speak to people that are positive, for one, because that's one thing you do not get when you first find out this diagnosis with the medical people. There is just no hope given, nothing. So to meet us, we're positive. He's a living, walking proof of what one can do with one's life, and it's just great to be able to help other people too.
I know of a person that came round to my house and knocked on the door, and she was having chemotherapy, and they told her she had a month to live, and I suggested to her sister that when she was in hospital she takes her inducers, and I said she'll be walking around in a couple of weeks. And she said to me, no, the doctor said she's going to be dead. I said, don't worry about whatever that doctor told you, just do this. And believe it or not, she was walking around, not in 2 weeks, in about a month, and she was outside enjoying her life again, and it looks like she may be returning to work again, but she'll be on that diet for the rest of her life. But that's not a bad sacrifice for living.
A friend suggested I come and see you because you had cancer, and my sister had just been diagnosed with cancer. So I came round to see you one morning, and we talked about diet, the juicer, which was so important. It was early days, and I was very confused, and we were asking a lot of questions, but you put me on the right track. We started juicing almost immediately, but Simone was very ill. She was going into toxic shock at the time I came to see you, and I think the juices helped tremendously at first, and then we started with raw vegetables, the organic oats, just everything that you suggested we tried, and I have to say it did help a lot.
So since then she was in hospital, now she's out of hospital and she's back at work.
She's out of hospital, she's back at work full time.
Yeah.
She's 200% to what she was. She just looks a picture of health. I can't believe it. And she was very, very ill.
What's actually wrong with you, Simone?
I have pancreatic cancer and liver cancer.
Cool. How do you feel now?
I feel good now.
Yeah. How long are you going to stay on the diet for?
I think I'll use it as a guide probably for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
because I can see how much it's helped me. And the normal thing that we're brought up on the proteins and the calcium and things, it's not the way to go. I had a scan, let me say, last month,
Yeah.
and I've really improved. The cancer has actually gone from the pancreas, and the cancer on the liver has been reduced, visibly reduced, and I think even the doctors are surprised.
I couldn't envisage her looking the way she does now. I just couldn't. She was so ill. I never thought she would get better.
I thought it was hogwash to start off with. I couldn't understand how something as simple as your diet could remedy such a serious problem.
Well, hopefully we'll just live a long and happy, wonderful life. All healthy, children healthy because our diets are healthy. We're aware of all this misinformed media about diet. and treasure your life a lot more.
You turn on your television, you're not sort of encouraged